Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Another day, another dollar where we're going to be breaking down the futures contract. Going to be looking at the monthly, weekly, and daily time frames as I left you guys off on Wednesday, kind of giving you guys some upside destinations that would make the market kind of change and shift in the bulls' favors just a little bit. Before we dive into this, I do apologize if the video cuts out or audio kind of cuts in and out. I'm pretty sick at the moment, but I'm gonna try to kind of hit the reason why there was no video yesterday. Uh, I didn't even trade yesterday; I just kind of rested all day. But I'm just going to try to get through this the best that I can. I was feeling a little bit better, but still, obviously congested. Uh, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. It's not wasting any time. All right, so monthly. So far, we're starting off the month of November very strong, like very strong as far as uh, the bulls go. Okay, whether this is short covering or momentum buying or actual buying, stepping into the market, risk on being put back in prior to the end of the year. Who actually knows? All that matters is the market generated information that we have in front of us. And right now, the market is up uh, in the shorter time frame, such as the daily. We have put ourselves back into a balance on the weekly and our monthly. We are looking to do the exact same. We need to get above that 44, 23, 25 level on the monthly in order for us to stop the one time framing down on the monthly time frame. However, if we just hover right here and kind of chop back and forth in between last month's range, high and low range of 44, 23, 25, and the low of 41, 22, 25, and have an inside month, that will, you could say that the monthly's gone from down to balance at that point. But right now, the way the market's looking, it is most likely going to take that out at some point and put ourselves back into either a 2 month balance or a 3 month balance if you wanted to include September. It just depends on how you want to look at that. But right now, working our way back into what our previous monthly balance was. Our previous monthly balance was at 46.3350 level to 43.50 on the low end. We're working our way back into it as we've climbed back above 43.50 on the monthly time frame. Uh, pretty strong for the buyers. I actually been in a swing trade for since like Wednesday of last week. A paper swing trade. Don't let me fake it to you. It was all paper because I do not have the balls to swing trade futures contract yet. But I did take a nice little 5 lot in ES and then a 2 lot, or no, excuse me, a 3 lot in NQ on the swing trade side to the upside because I felt like the trend was kind of slowing, and just market generate information at the time that I was receiving just pointed to maybe potentially going and putting ourselves back into a balance of sorts. Now, I wasn't expecting the moves that we got today, but or not today, but this week alone. But overall, that trade went really well. I've taken off majority of the position. I hold one contract of ES. I took off all of the NQ, all of that. It was all, I think, roughly 200 to 300 points of profit for each contract. So, I mean, you do the math. It was for a paper trade, though. It was pretty good. Hopefully, one day I'll be able to swing that with actual size. Overall, for the week, though, with my actual account, done well. I've traded well. Fought back from uh, a couple days of a loss, but we've done well this week. Just follow the market generated information. Try not to overtrade. Take the trades where I believe they will profit me. Take profits. Try not to stay in it too long. And once I reach a certain number, get out. All right. So here is the weekly. Here is the weekly time frame. So we have worked our way back inside of that previous balance now. We'll adjust this at right now. Actually, we'll mark our balance low and high. The balance high is that 23.25 level, which is inside of a gap, and I'll show you that here on the daily. And then our balance low was that 122.25. 122.25. All right, so right there you see on the chart the area that I marked, and that I showed you guys on Wednesday that we need to get above in order to stop the one time framing down on the weekly time frame. We got up to 42.90.50, got above it. That stops the one time framing down. We are firmly in a 3-week, rather large balance. It is a 301 point balance. Okay, 301 point. It might be a little bit more, a little bit less. But if I just take, roughly from here to here, it's going to be about 300 point range that we are trading inside of our weekly balance. So we are officially in a 3-week balance. So expect, if we do not take out that 44, 23, 25 level, which is also that monthly high, right? If we don't take out that monthly area that stops the one time framing down, then we could chop inside of this range for quite some time. Okay, so as of right now, strong push for the buyers at the moment. There is the close, and we'll look at that here in just a second. So weekly, stop the one time framing down, officially in a 3-week balance, looking to take out that 42 or 44, 23, 25 level. And then if we get above that, your next target on the upside would be the weekly high of 45, 15, 50. That would be your next upside target on the weekly. All right, so if we can't take that out, remember balance rules, right? You get near a balance high, stall, roll back over, test the other end or get near it. You get near a balance high, push through it, slightly stretch it, roll back over, or you get to a balance high, push through it, and never look back. Right now, the way the market's trying to push, it may seem like we could potentially push through and either slightly stretch it or never look back. But right now, the way that we traded today in the intraday on our daily time frame and the way the 30-minute time frame looked, we might be running out a little bit of gas. As in the shorter time frame, we could potentially be running out of steam. I don't remember the last time we've had 3 gaps to the upside, but we have 1, 2, and 3 daily gaps to the upside. We gapped back here on coming into this month, right? And coming from Tuesday to Wednesday, and then we gapped going from Wednesday into Thursday's open, and then from Thursday into Friday's open, we had another gap. So 3 gaps in a row. Shorts have been absolutely squeezed, and our daily went from balance to one time framing up. Now, this is why I began to take those or buy those positions back in last week's price action. Was I was looking at specific levels, and then felt like we could come back into a balance and potentially run us back up to at least the 200-day moving average. I was not expecting this gap move that we had, but as you can see, we've gapped up, and then found ourselves back inside of that previous balance area that we came out of on our daily, and that led to this larger move down. Price was accumulated here, redistributed down here, and then reaccumulated, and then now being distributed back up here. So the question is, do we find acceptance back up here at the 50 or above the 50-day moving average? We closed slightly below it, it looks like. Closed slightly below the 50-day moving average, but we are both above the 20 and the 200-day moving average. So we'll see how that looks going forward. Volume not the greatest on these pushes up, honestly. The only day that we really had a good volume was on Wednesday. Thursday, really not a whole lot of volume, and then today, not a whole lot of volume. So that's kind of showing me maybe the market is running out of steam, and we could potentially roll this market over, as well as the poor structure. Now, we do have this gap on the upside that we need to fill. The question is, what gets filled first? Do we fill this gap that we couldn't fill back on? Oh, actually, I need to update this gap. Starts at 23.25 now. Thought I updated that. I guess I didn't. But that gap starts at 23.25. So do we get into that gap and finally fill it on the upside? Fills at 44, 43.50. If we do that, then that means the monthly has officially come back into a balance, and then we begin to attack those upper destinations that I was discussing for the weekly. Or do we roll over now that we're back in a balance, roll back over, and then begin it to fill in some of this poor structure and potentially even backtest the 200-day moving average. So that's all the speculation. We have to see what happens. I have my money potentially on backfilling at least one of these gaps and putting ourselves back into an initial 3-day balance. Now let's go ahead and look at the larger time frames, or not the larger, the 30-minute time frame and our profile, and just kind of go over some destinations. Only trades I took today, really, I took one long and then multiple shorts, believe it or not. I took one long on the afternoon pullback low, which is no longer there as M period kind of pulled back. But I took a long here around 70, what was it, 78, 80. It rotated up. I got out of the trade around 85. Obviously, it went a little bit higher, but I was happy to take points off that. After that, each new high that we made, I basically faded until, obviously very late in the day. I just didn't know what we wanted to do. The other shorts I took were in NASDAQ, but each push up here in these time frames, I was getting short around the 86 to, just fading the extreme. Even here at 90, it came in pretty good and I got out of the trade. But just to go over the destinations from the previous day, let's just go over all the destinations on the downside real quick and kind of give you guys some scenarios. So today we didn't close out with much for the buyers, which kind of leads me to believe maybe the trend is slowing a little bit, even though we have a gap in higher value. We didn't have quite the energy we had yesterday. Yesterday we went out with a triple distribution day with two sets of single prints, right? And that was after a gap. We had a triple distribution day. Today we had a gap and then struggled to go trend. We attempted to go trend a few times today by holding single prints like we did back on this day, and we couldn't quite do it. So could this be a sign that the market is getting a little too stretched or tiring out a little bit, and we could potentially roll back over? We just barely missed getting that high from the 18th of October at 92.50. We got up to 91.75, and this market came in pretty good. So we only go out with today's high and today's low, no wide point of control or anything of that nature. Today's high 91.75, today's low 58.25, where the gap starts, and then that gap gets filled down at 43.37.75. All right, from there you are in the upper distribution. All right, you have the upper distribution here from 37.75 to 24.75. Okay, then we have the middle distribution where single prints get filled at 43.24. We have an afternoon pullback low from that day at 43.12.50. Single prints at 43.09.50, which would be the bottom portion of our middle distribution, right? This whole range here is the middle distribution, okay? And then if we get below that area at some point in time in the future, you will find your way into the lower distribution, which starts at 43.08.75, where that set of single prints gets filled, and the lower portion of and the low of day would be 93.75, 42.93.75 low day. Also, where the gap starts, another gap, right? Where the gap starts below that, you have where the gap fills high of day 42.64.75, and then another set of single prints that fill at 48.50, 9 wide point of control, another gap, right? So those are all the downside destinations. Not that you needed every single one of them, but that is important to keep in mind. As far as our upside, we have today's high 91.75, then the 18th high 92.50. Above that, you have nothing until 44.23.25, where that gap I was just discussing starts, and then that gap gets filled at 44.46. All right, I'm going to actually label this. I'm going to give this a bit of a darker color. And then I also want to reiterate that this is also a monthly high. So monthly high is how we're going to label this, monthly high. And then I want it to be red. That way whenever we get to that level, I want it to be significant. Okay, if we get above 42.23.25, the monthly will be back to balance. And then, we'll obviously go and attack these upper destinations at 46, 44.6450 price probe, 44.7175, 44.77 where the single print's filled, and then you have a 10 wide porting control at 44.9875. But we have a lot of work to do, and we cannot have choppy, slow grind up days like today to get there. I'm not saying we can't, but it's going to be very difficult for buyers, right? All these buyers up here wanted to get paid today, and they didn't. So this market could potentially come back in. So if we open up in today's range, expect a whole lot of chop. If we can't take out the day's high, then expect to take out the day's low and potentially fill this gap. If we do fill the gap, we'll come back into a 3-day balance initially, come in Monday, right? Come back into an initial 3-day balance. And then that balance, depending on how much we go down, would encompass, the entirety of the second range, right? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hope your trading week was well. Reminder, don't short a market that is trend up unless you see reasons to. Like today, obviously we had wide points of control. We failed to go trend multiple times. Even with a gap and higher value, I was comfortable shorting and fading the edges and extremes because I had a reason to. Just because you think the market can't go any higher is not a reason to short this market. And I'm thankful for Paul Asmar that helps us out in the trading room, camelbacktrading.org. You guys go check it out if you want to join a Discord where you get all of the education and trading and excitement in one. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. See you.